Today is a day every child dreads as they grow older and older. But today is not a day of loss. Today is not a day of goodbye. It shouldn't be a day of grieving. But for those of us that are believers, today should be a celebration of a life well lived. I'm on a time limit and we have a schedule, so I'm going to say the things that I want to say in a timely manner. But if I had time, I would explain in depth what this man means to me and my siblings. If I had time, I could tell you about him being born in Meridian, Mississippi. And when he spoke of Meridian, he emphasized the name with enthusiasm, with a twinkle in his eye. If I had time, I could tell you that he grew up going from house to house without any resemblance of a structured family, where he was separated from his brothers and sisters at different stages and times during his childhood. If I had time, I would describe how he loved and adored those brothers and sisters, and his love for them held strong till his last day. If I had time, I could explain that despite only having an 8th grade education, he grew into the wisest and kindest man that I've ever known. If I had time, I could emphasize how far he came from the age of 17 when he left Meridian with nothing of monetary value, and I mean nothing. And he joined the National Guard and he found his way to Tuscaloosa, Alabama. If I had time, I could detail how that move to Tuscaloosa changed the direction in his path and the path of his life forever. After meeting my mother and how that union led to him gaining another family, the Tilley family. If I had time, I would tell you more about how the Tilley family led him to the Lord and to his spiritual mentor, James Herbert Tilley, and where he also found 3 new brothers that he loved and adored. If I had time, I could go on and on about how my father and mother raised 3 children on a meager wage at a printing company, and then they started their own printing company, all while pastoring many Free Will Baptist churches all over the West Alabama area. If I had time, I could tell you about our Sunday evening drives home from church, where he would tease us kids to look at the billboards all along 82 with all the inviting drinks and slushies, but he never had any intention on ever stopping to get us one. That's how it was. If I had time, I could tell you how our summers were planned around revivals at churches, revivals at my papa's church, revivals at my uncle's church, because that was the priority that he and my mother gave to that purpose and calling. If I had time, I would recall all the vacations that we took when I was a child that always found us getting lost, then always coming home early from that vacation because in reality he was the one that was homesick. He was always ready to get back to, as he would say, Alabama. If I had time, I would tell you how many calls he made to each of his kids on a daily basis with breaking news. If I had time, I could tell you about the jokes that he shared repeatedly and the giggles that ensued like it was the first time he had told it, no matter how many times we had heard it before. If I had time, I could tell you how secure he was in his manhood. When he was home, he was perfectly comfortable wearing my mother's reading glasses, house shoes, or scoop neck sweater with pearl buttons because he liked the fit. If I had the time, I could tell you that when you talk with Jack or Virginia on the phone, you would talk with one and you would hear the other at the same time. They were always together, almost never agreeing, but always together. If I had the time, I would like to share how many souls he led to the Lord, starting with Keith, Kimberly, myself, and then many others. If I had time, I could tell you all these things. But the problem is that this could go on and on and on, and I'm running out of time. So I guess I will just tell you that I love him. He was a great husband. He was a caring father, a jovial grandfather. He never met a stranger, never. He never looked down on anyone. He was funny without trying to be. He was a true Ole Miss rebel, He was a sharp-dressed man who was one of a kind. But most important, he was a servant and a follower of Jesus Christ, which is what he most identified with. We are proud to be an Adcox because of his life well lived. It is with great respect, pride, and honor that we got to say, that is my dad.